Welcome to Honest Whispers Review. On this video I'll be reviewing Wonder Woman Defender Collectible Statue Paperweight. It is a limited edition of 5,000 pieces. This particular one is 1,735. It does come with a certificate of authenticity, which basically is like a postcard, one-sided, so the other side is blank. It is released by Iron Heroes as a Gamestop exclusive. You can see the Gamestop exclusive logo on the top of the box, and also once again on the certificate of authenticity, which means basically when this came out back in 2016, you could only buy it from GameStop stores or GameStop website, and it's been sold out for a bit over a year. This statue, including the base, is about 7.5 inches tall. So it's not a full size or mini, definitely in the realm of a medium-sized statue. This statue is based on the cover art by Dodson. It's actually based on Wonder Woman Series 3, issue number 1, cover A. As you can see on the box here, which is a 4-color box, one cool thing they designed is that you could see all 4 sides of the statue on the box. So basically it's as if the box is invisible and you could kind of at least get a glance at what the statue would look like from every side. Now I wanted to keep this on this side because I wanted to show you the image that the cover that the statue is based on, which is a famous image, and they even did a poster out of it. Now as for the Sculptor, I couldn't find any info on the Sculptor, which means that it could be a team collaboration, or they just decided not to I put it on the box or the certificate. I'm gonna go over 5 different categories to review this. First category is design. Basically it covers the concept and the pose of the statue, and for me this I always like the cover itself, but keep in mind the cover only goes up to about her knees or just above her knees, so that's pretty much the image you kind of get in the comic book, or at least on cover art. So the statue is kind of nice to see, I guess a 3D version of that image. So definitely like the pose. It's a classic, iconic, no pun intended, iconic pose. I'm sure maybe the company had a pun intended, but definitely with the bracelets crossing, she's ready to block something or reflect something. I think is a pretty cool pose. Surprisingly, there's not many Wonder Woman toys or statues with this actual pose, so ironically it's kind of unique. I'm surprised there's not more of it, at least when she's crossed, has her bracelets crossed like that. So design, very nicely done. I like it. It's definitely one of my favorite Wonder Woman designs that's ever been produced. Now the base is pretty simple. Usually you'll get like a Wonder Woman insignia or something like that, like the double W's, but basically this one, I like the a simplified design of the base. It's basically, how you say, like I mean, it's symmetrical, but there's no indication of where is the front, where is the back. So that makes it really displayable in many different angles. And what I mean by that is, for me, I'm just going by what the cover art looks like. So basically she's looking dead straight at you. So with this pose where she's kind of looking straight, for me, I see how like this would be just to be in a symmetrical, I guess, rule or law, and then just by staying as symmetrical, I would consider this part right here the actual front in my case. So the thing is, the reason why I point that out is because if I had it where this bolt looking thing on the base is dead center, this still looks great to me. So in other words, because of the simplified base, there's no rules. Like, you won't get a crooked W or something like that where it's just one, you know, where you could only basically display it only in one direction. Otherwise you would know that the statue is tilted or turned or whatever the case. So for the simple design, there is some brilliance to it. So I really like it. I guess some people might not, but other than the fact that she's not standing on this colorful logo, that also makes her stand out more as the character. So it just kind of doesn't look like she's on some kind of display, but rather something just more natural. And the fact that it's black, you could see her, well, you could see Wonder Woman basically stand out more completely. So even from the top angle, the contrast of basically her colors to the black base, yeah, it really makes the base, I guess, less visible, let's just say, or even less distracting. So the design overall, I mean, there's really no complaints about it for me. I like everything, how they added the way it flows, her hair flows, definitely well done. Trying to copy everything. Now there is a slight change though. You could see how on the cover or on the artwork, you could see her bangs are covering her tiara. This one looks like they decided to keep bangs out and show the tiara, which to me works better, I guess, as a statue. So, and I'm sure bangs over the tiara would make it delicate, and I'm sure it might have even, you know, raised the production cost, would have ultimately raised the retail cost. So the design, I'm gonna give it a perfect 10 out of 10. Next category is sculpting. Sculpting basically covers the details, the molding, and the quality of the molding. So sometimes there could be an issue with the casting and things like that, or the cast itself. And basically on this particular one, I do have to add another category, which, well, not category, but basically I guess I don't want to take it out on the design category, so I'm taking it out on the sculpting category, and that's basically the design of the styrofoam. Basically, when I bought this, I bought few different ones at the same time, and basically one I had to return because of a broken lasso, and this one didn't have any issues. I had it stored, and after storage and opening for the first time for this video, I find out that I have the same broken lasso. So you can see right here, it's very hard to tell. I'm sure you probably couldn't tell before. I couldn't tell until I had a very close examination of this. So I'm very disappointed in that. And to see this repeatedly, even though it's only 2 statues that I see the same thing on, I am worried about my other one that I have in storage. and I would give a ding on this because it comes in a styrofoam, but as you can see, the shape of the styrofoam, and this is basically the bag. They made it so that she's basically tight fit. And the thing is, that means this is where her lasso would be sitting. And all they did is cover her, or put this little sheet of paper between the lasso and her hip. I guess for the purpose of not getting her hip scratched. But then the problem is that due to it's not completely flat, there is kind of like, it's like a rough edge. So basically you can see something this, and this lasso is more like a soft plastic that they glued on to. So for me, that's a huge hit on the either the design or the sculpting. I didn't really want to take it out on the design just because of the fact that, you know, right now for design I'm kind of crediting a lot on Terry Dodson's artwork. So it's not like Terry Dodson's fault that, you know, he designed the styrofoam, you know, protector like that. So I would put this on the sculpting issue. Other than that, the statue itself, you can see a lot of details. A lot of details on the hair strand, the way it flows. You don't see that as much on the artwork, so this is definitely something that the sculptor or the sculpting team had to, I guess, redefine. And Tiara, her face, overall well done. I think her face could have been better. You could see in some angles she does look pretty good, but in other angles her face gets a little bit weird, in my opinion. And I think that's just because the nose can be a little bit slightly too, I guess, sharp or defined, and a little bit bigger than I think it should be. I think it could have been a little bit smaller and would have been a little bit better proportion, and her eye sockets go in really deep. So in certain angles she looks very like something right here, like the way her eyes cave in makes her face a little bit more weird looking, or even a bit deformed. So I have a small issue on that. Other than that, everything else for its size, really well done. You can see a lot of details on the fingers, well proportioned. There are these little holes though, like little pockets and holes, so that's probably from the molding or process or the casting or the cast itself. Maybe something was there, they didn't clean it off all the way. Either way, not a huge issue, and you can only see that if you look really close. The other hand doesn't have that. Minor little issues here, just where like the hand meets the bracelet, but something you really can't tell unless you're really looking up closely. Her muscle definitions and her body proportion pretty much perfectly sculpted. She's not too muscular, but at the same time she's not too how you say, I guess she doesn't look too normal, I would say, like a normal woman. She has a lot of details, just even her neck, collarbone, chest, her costumes, the way it wrinkles, and even the seam lines on the costume. Very nicely done, well proportioned. The belt, and looking even from close or far, everything's symmetrical, everything's lined up straight. You could draw a line from her head to basically her crotch, and it'll be, everything's lined up straight. So that's perfectly done. Her back, shoulders, really well defined. There's no weird bumps or anything, so everything's all nicely done, smooth. Her butt is perfectly proportioned and one of the best looking Wonder Woman butts I've ever seen, at least in a statue. I know that's weird to say, but a lot of times they'll either make the butt too flat or too small, or sometimes a bit unproportioned. Legs, same thing. This is very well proportioned. It looks really like the way it does on the Terry Dodson's artwork. So definitely, even for a 3D statue, you could see a lot of Terry Dodson's style transferred to it. So I give the sculpting grade a really high grade. You can see even a lot of wrinkles here on the boots, just to where where she bends her toes, and it's just really realistic and nice looking. Really not much any problems or flaws. I'm just very upset that they didn't design a better protector. That's the irony. It's supposed to protect, not break. So I'm sure this is one of their first ones, and I'm sure they'll probably learn. That's something you would probably have to hollow out even more, and then just have her, I guess, held or braced on somewhere she's more stable or more solid. So very unfortunate. I wouldn't be surprised if more than half of these Wonder Woman statues out there will end up with the broken lasso just like that. So I may have to check up on my other one as well that I intended to sell in the future. So the sculpting, I give it an 8 out of 10. I probably would have given it like a 9, but yeah, that's, the fact that, I don't even want to, it looks okay as is, so I'll probably leave it as that, but still, it's very disappointing, something like that. They could have even designed or planned it with maybe something like a softer plastic that's flexible, so that way, it won't snap like this if it's kind of bumped around or shaken while inside the box. So, bit disappointed in that. So once again, an 8 out of 10 on the sculpting. Next category is painting. Painting basically covers, it is self-explanatory, but it covers the accuracy of the colors, quality of the paint, and basically just the quality of the application of the paint. So once again, starting from top to bottom, hair very nicely done. There are some tint or shades of gray or even light blue added in there, so it does add a reflective effect to it. Everything on her colors are pretty much dead on. In my opinion, I think the gold is a bit dull. It does look a little bit more like bronze, but it is what it is. It could have been better, in my opinion, but I'm still happy the way it turned out. In other words, all the paint pretty much is matte finish. So if they added some gloss to it, would have been better. Now there are certain areas where it's glossy. For instance, her eyes. When I first looked at it off the reflection of a light, like a light source, I thought it was so reflective that I thought it was maybe glass eyes that they put in there. But then after a closer look, to me what it looks like is they had decals probably applied to it. And that's probably why it tends to reflect. Another example would be the stars. Usually they paint the stars, but you can see how perfect these stars are. So in other words, what they did is they applied decals, and that's why it's a bit shinier in my opinion. Now the stars, they did pretty well overall, but you could see here it's not as symmetrical as I would want it to be. And this is actually an abnormal one. In other words, you could see even in the example here on the box, she has a star missing on her lower right butt cheek. And other ones, they do have stars missing there as well, but this one, you can see there is a star. Everything's a bit misaligned though, but this was more symmetrical than any other ones that I've seen, which is why this is the one I chose to open and keep for my collection. Just unfortunate that I find out that it has a broken lasso. Sorry to keep dwelling on that. But anyway, all the lines are straight. There's not much areas where the paint goes over the borderline. There may be certain small example, like for instance here on the boot, you can see on the top, her right boot, or I guess from our perspective, the left side, you can see right there on the top area, you can see the white paint bordering over where it should be the red. So something you can't really see unless you're looking up very closely. So it is a minor, very minor flaw or mistake or imperfection. Otherwise, the lines are pretty much straight. They don't wiggle. They don't get fat and then skinny, at least not too much. You can see a little bit more of paint going over the border. But overall, it's still pretty sharp. This is an example of where like the red, the white could have been a bit more sharper. You could see even the white right there on her right leg or right calf. Paint goes on the where it should be the skin. The white paint is on the skin, and you can see a little bit of a wig, you know, like a dip on the line right there, so it looks like something got bit off or chewed off. Very small, I mean, and again, this is something you have to look very closely. At about normal distance, it looks really well done. So very close for what it is, for the size and the price. Overall, I'm very happy with it. Very well done. But keep in mind, this is an abnormal one, and you'll probably have that right, I'm gonna try, well, I can't really point it out, but the right star, on the right butt cheek, very bottom, just like that. You'll probably have that one missing right there. So when you look at most average ones or other ones, like, yeah, you're not gonna have that. So it has this big blank blue spot where it's, you know, there's no stars. So that's a huge flaw. This one you could see here, there's an extra star added here, so that looks a little bit weird. You can see on the other side, doesn't have it, looks very clean. So a bit of a problem, but not a huge problem in my eyes. And it's not like you're gonna be displaying it like this with her back. So basically for me, I'd probably be displaying it around her front 180 degrees, maybe to the side. You know, I was thinking of the only way I would do something with her displayed like this is if I had another statue she was facing, so kind of make a diorama out of it. So that's an option. But other than that, since it's in the area that I can't really see, not a huge problem, but still it could have been done a lot better. I still give the painting score a pretty good high score. I give it an 8 out of 10 on the painting. Next category is value. Value basically is the retail cost versus the aftermarket cost. And this one, because it's a GameStop exclusive, I almost ended up not buying it. Basically, I bought it, I guess, before it kind of sold out, because this was selling out pretty fast, surprisingly. So I went from store to store, and eventually I ended up buying from the website. And basically, from then on, when I ordered an extra one, they sent me one that was open, and basically what it was one that was displayed in a store, and basically they just sent it to the warehouse to sell from online orders. Now, when it was basically sold out, the price was pretty up, and not many people knew about it. Right now, I would say you could probably find this still at a reasonable price. When this came out, it was at $39.99 or $39.95. So for the cost, a $40 statue, definitely nice, good quality, good value. So even without retail versus aftermarket, just the fact that you get something so detailed and, you know, such a good quality for such a cheap price, the value is already up there. I particularly think, I for sure think that this will eventually continue to keep going up in value. So I put the value score very high. Right now, this, you could probably find a good new one, maybe around, you know, 60 to 70 without, you know, shipping. I wouldn't be surprised if it's more than that. To be honest, I haven't checked on the value of this for about 6 months. So, and I know these exclusive statues and figures tend to go up pretty up, you know, high and fast. So the value score, I'm going to give it a high score at a 9 out of 10. I think one thing, I would have given it a perfect 10 out of 10, but one thing that does kind of hurt the value, once again, it is the broken lasso. Whether if all of them are going to be broken or not, the fact that it is broken will always hurt its maximum potential value. So it is a bit of a loss, but at the same time, I don't think something like that is gonna decrease it. I mean, in other words, even with the broken lasso, I know for a fact I can get more than what I actually paid for or originally paid for. So the value's still up there. So going on overall, which basically considers all the 4 previous categories, the score on design, sculpting, painting, and as I mentioned, elaborating a little more on the value, you can see once again, whether if it's a cheap $40 statue or not, the quality overall is there. I like the pose, the uniqueness of just, it's not supposed to be unique, but the uniqueness of the pose, it just, it's really cool. And she's not like just standing up straight, so I really like that a lot. I like how she kind of has her knees bent, kind of ready to, more on a ready alert, you know, spring into action. Very feminine at the same time, you know, like, I mean, it still has that action, dynamic pose to it. So very feminine, but at the same time very dynamic. That's really what I'm trying to find. And overall, even with the damage, basically it's one of my favorite statues, or at least Wonder Woman statues that I own. So still overall very happy with it. Very close to perfect, at least for what it is, for the size and for the cost. So overall I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10. So to recap, Design, 10 out of 10. Sculpting, 8 out of 10. Painting, 8 out of 10. Value, 9 out of 10. And overall, 9 out of 10. Thank you for watching. Until next time, I suggest check your statues to see if there may be damages like that.